if you are interested in evolving and trying to do your best and each movie to be better than your previous, I mean, all the time it will be a first, like the next movie, I don't want to be the same. I want to do it way better. So of course the challenges will be different, and so on.
This is the
Independent
Filmmakers Guide
from Framework Productions.
Framework
Productions.
On IFG, we talk about independent film from development through delivery. By featuring discussions with creators and collaborators about their experiences, we form a roadmap to help you have the most success with your projects. Passion, performance, and planning. Creating an independent feature takes all of them. From knowing how to get both planned and improv performances from your actors, to knowing how to light the room and prepare the camera rigs best for speed. A plethora of knowledge, experience, and gear, and of course, budget, are all needed. But as we hear from both the cinematographer and the director of the new indie feature Still Here, films are made with people, not equipment.
Number one, you have to believe in your product. You have to believe on your movie, and you have to love it so much that you have to convince them that you're the right person.
That's Ana Paula Rivera, the cinematographer and a producer on the film Still Here.
I will always say it. Movies are made by people, not by equipment.
And that's Vlad Foyer, the director, co-writer, and producer for Still Here.
I wanted to make a movie about the resilience and of a male character.
I'm your host, Stephen Pierce.
Who could show vulnerability, and raw strength. So in the end, it's about a father who's not giving up.
A father who's not giving up. Ana Paula, whenever you got the script first and he first told you about the story, how were you approaching it visually? Visually, what's the vocabulary for you?
For me, visually, it was incredibly important to have a camera that would completely become invisible. So you could really get into the world and then follow the characters, because it's a movie that you have to follow clues, cues, and go all around the city. So we decided to go with steady so we can have a motion that would completely go with the characters in a way that you wouldn't feel it, but yet it would take you on the ride,
So you focused like Steadicam as like your primary rigging?
Yes. Most of it, let's say 70%, we did Steadicam and handheld.
That's interesting. So how are you planning coverage in a scene? Because many times Steadicam can be a little deceptive. Like you want to get in and you always want to have that floating shot. But then whenever you're going to do your coverage or your overs, are you planning it kind of conventionally, like where that's going? How are you planning those shots out?
What we did is we rigged the whole lighting in order for the characters to have all the space available. So you would not have anything on sticks on the floor. Everything was rigged above them, so they also would not see it. That gives a lot of freedom to the actors, and also to the camera, because whenever you would turn around, you would have that freedom. But especially, Vlad wanted to allow the characters to be able to improvise, to get into the character and just become it, which means you have to adapt and you have to just follow them. So we wanted to have that space to be able to just react to what the characters would do. And that helped us a lot with covering it. And we had a trick that you would keep the arm and you would keep it on on a tripod with wheels. So you still keep that essence, that visual movement, but you have more freedom and it makes your workflow a little bit faster.
Even sometimes in interiors, I would not choose to have them on sticks, but actually really him operate the steady, and because I would let the actors to improvise, and the improvisation doesn't come just two actors sitting face to face and talking. They will stand up, so we'll have people from the art department moving the table. The steady will come, put the table back, so if we turn around, because at a certain point when improvisation will come, all the marks will disappear. So here we, we had an amazing first AC, the focus puller was hitting the spots very well, with basically no rehearsals on those movements. And we already being New York, I had probably 2 or 3 scenes that I want to have one take, and we were prepared and they were pretty long takes. So I believe one of them, the one with Johnny and Zazie, in the end it did not work because of the sound issues. So I was all the time, we were ready to use it, to cut it out and to cover it different.
Let's talk about the screenplay first of all. A lot of improv, a lot of development with the characters and the actors. It sounds like it was happening on set and in the scene. How as a writer were you approaching that? Were you writing the beats for them, or were you writing scenes and then tearing them apart and rebuilding them as the actors saw fit?
So the script that we went into production change. I was constantly working on the script. The way I worked with the actors, we did not have any table reads, or I don't want to make it too robotic. I wanted for the actors to actually feel the character, and for me to feed them as much information about the character as possible, instead of learning by heart some lines just to feed our egos as writers that they said our lines there. And I allow actors to come with opinions like, hey, what if we approach this line in this way and not this way? So whatever it will have made them feel more comfortable in the shoes of the characters would make us happy. And there are some scenes, for instance, when Christian gets to for the first time inside of the apartment of the Watson's family, probably half of that scene it's improvisation. Maurice just finished the lines, and he was so much into the character, I did not want to cut. So I think we rolled for 10-15 minutes after that.
Anna Paula, how are you also responding to improv with your work? Are you, I guess you weren't operating the Steadicam, were you? You had another operator?
Yes.
So basically you were setting the look of a room and the look of the direction you're going to be looking, more or less, and then the camera plays in that plane most of the time if they're going to improv like that.
The thing is, we lit for, let's call it 280 degrees. So whatever it would happen will be good. And allow them to do whatever they are good at doing, and following them, getting close with the action, following the action with the camera. And again, if you're in Steady, you still do have that freedom. That's the beauty of Steady, that you don't have tracks. You have legs. You can just and the actors helped amazing. Yeah,
it was literally, I would describe it as a very respectful way, from the actors, for the camera operator, and for the DP, and the key grip, and everybody tried to do their best. That whole apartment, I don't know, when you see a pipe that you think it's a pipe in the corner, being a New York apartment, you think it's a pipe. It's not a pipe. It's built from the arts in order to hide a stick that in the end up you have all the almost 360 lighting. So it was very, very interesting. And allowing people to whenever probably you have all the budget in the world, you can do whatever you want. But whenever you are limited in a certain budget, time, then you have to improvise. And I think that's the moment when beautiful things are coming out.
So how, when you're in the middle of an improv scene like that, if you want to use something, so you see something you want, are you trying to recreate that then so you can get the coverage on it?
No, I as well, at the point, if they will go off the rail, I will just give them a direction for them, to go back. And the moment when I knew that I have everything that I need in the editing room from, the actual script, and I would feel very comfortable. So it will be basically a bonus. It will be an extra.
So on Apollo, whenever you see like a scene like unfold that has like a little bit of an improv thing into it, and say you're shooting it on a wide, now do you go in to try and cover that moment in like overs then? How does it change your production plan as far as what your coverage is going to be?
It all depends, obviously, if in the improv Vlad's happy with it and if it's a go and it's worth it going and getting the coverage, then you go in and also get it. But we did get it in different ways, not in a conventional way. It's not irregular overs or like that. If not, getting getting tighter, getting details, because as Vlad mentioned, he already has from the script all of what he needs, and if he's going to use that, then he will use it to get texture to the movie, to the film.
I was pretty tight, even in the improvisation. I was not like, oh, let's cover it wide and make sure and to play the safe card, because one thing about improvisation, you won't be able to get it again. So that raw acting, you have to be present and you have to catch it on the spot. You cannot tell him like, hey, can you do that again? So I'm not afraid of long takes. I believe that if a camera stays on the face of an actor and that actor delivers you like gold, nobody cares that, oh, we are on this actor for already 45 minutes. All the time I talk about when I give this example, I'm thinking about Scent of a Woman with Al Pacino whenever he meets O'Donnell in the room. The camera stays so long on Al Pacino, the acting it's brilliant, so you don't actually care what's happening behind it. That's a plus. So
if you're rigged on a Steadicam and then you're taking the arm off taking the sled and the arm and fixing that to a tripod, right? Is that kind of I'm understanding that correctly? Was kind of how you were moving?
Yeah.
So how are you approaching lenses? Like, are you swapping lenses with that, or were you able to maintain balance while you're swapping lenses if you're doing that?
No, you do need to. If you swap lenses, you do need to rebalance, but it would be a choice that whenever we would have, honestly, we shot most of the film on 50 on 30 and 35. So it would be simple to do that exchange, because obviously we would get our tight shots in a different lens. But the main film was 50 and 35, which, as Vlad says, he's not a big fan of wides. And in a 50 or in a 35, I love, specifically my favorite lens is 35. I think it's just perfect. It gives you the emotion of the character, but at the same time, you still have your information on the back and you have the world. And that was what we were going for. Be able to follow them, to see them, to not have them either tight or on a wide, if not to feel the presence as if you're in human life. Like if you're in human life, you see the eye equals like a 50. So then that exchange in the workflow would be easier because we hold on to those lenses like our main buddies for the film. And if you need to rebalance the camera, you do have the time. It's not a big deal. And you're lighting, you're doing so many other things also, so it won't affect that much. What helps a lot is the fact that the tripod has wheels and it allows the Steadicam operator to either rest or the camera to get in different places while it gets crowded. Because also remember, if you're shooting on location and in New York, spaces are not as big.
Yeah, I've had so many conversations on set with cinematographers that are exactly like you, that I feel like I'm always like, yeah, all right, so we'll go to the close-up and it'll be the 85 or the 70. And they're like, no, let's do the 35. It's just like cinematographers always love the 35 and the 40 and the 24.
It's beautiful. I think there's a beauty to a long lens, that it would hold you a lot of emotion and it may give you that specific thing that you want to see. But if you use a wider lens on a close-up, you bring so much more to the to the frame. But it always depends what you're trying to accomplish in each scene. Sometimes you just want the 85 or in an extreme close-up and have everything else go back out of focus, or sometimes you want that information. And for us, it was important to bring the information from the back, as New York City also plays a role itself in the film. So we also wanted to keep that background always happening in order to accentuate how the city is incredibly busy. And you can be surrounded by people, but in moments when you're going through a tough challenge, you're still alone. So you can also separate the front and the back of the film.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about filmmaking is you can do the exact same shot on the same person with the same motion and change the lens, and it's emotion versus perspective. Like if you're tighter, it's usually more emotional. It's more, I don't know, the compression somehow makes the world feel more visceral, but the wider adds more of a perspective and a vision and more of a, what you're influencing on the scene. Vlad, how was this experience for you in relation to, your other commercial music video work and short films?
The first thing I would say it's, holding the continuity. We jumped in a music video after the movie, and it was like, oh, wow, so easy. It's what's happening here. No, it's a totally different from writing the script to, going on set and holding on to, I don't know how much, 27 days or something like that. The whole preparation is different. The whole approach is different. You are not running a sprint. It's a marathon. For us, it was, a pretty long marathon. We as well, we are some of the producers from the movie, bringing the financing. Then after the movie it's done, trying to find distribution. So overall, not just shooting, but the involvement in the movie, it's a totally different level. Most likely as a short, you finish the short, you send it to some festivals, you show it to your family, and that's it. If you are interested in evolving and trying to do your best and each movie to be better than your previous, I mean, all the time it will be a first, the next movie, I don't want to be the same. I want to do it way better. So of course the challenges will be different, and so on. My whole career, I'm trying to do, to learn from this process, go into the next process, do it, and then apply it, and so on. So all the time, it's not like, oh, I did a feature right now. All features will be like piece of cake. I know how to make.
Oh no, I think every feature is its own monster every time. What was your strategy, to the degree you're comfortable sharing, to finding the investment and getting the film up off the ground from script format to a place where you can produce it?
I mean, we tried, to find people that, first of all, will be supportive. It's very important, and I don't know, for all filmmakers that are looking and they, try to put and build their first feature and look for investment. There are many avenues you can get financing, like from tax incentives. There are lots of grants. We have some like CineSearch, CineReach in United States. But if, for instance, if you shoot in Europe, each country has grants from their government, and then it's the European Union, and so you can build the budget in a way that makes you comfortable. You have to get to a certain budget that you will achieve your movie, but in the same time, don't overspend. If you know that idea, like you will waste money, don't just raise money, to brag that you made a $5 million budget movie. I think needs to be a balance, and I don't know, probably the best place to start looking for money, it's with the family, get some there, attach it to the script, then go to somebody else, build a little bit more. Maybe you can get an actor to sign and to attach. I don't know, maybe lots of people that do pre-sales. I think each movie is different and depends who you find. We've been lucky enough to have very supportive financiers behind us, and they support our decisions and the path that we choose to take. So I think at the end, for us, it was very very rewarding. Again, it's very interesting. I've heard people that they made movies with $20,000 that they look like $1 million, and I've heard people that they made $3 million budget movies that they look like 100,000. So
I believe it's very important to really have your feet on the ground and have full clarity of what you want to do.
Exactly.
Because if you know your script and you know what you want to do and you know what you want to accomplish, with no extras, like to really be able to see in front of you the road clear and capitalize upon that. Don't put extra things of that at the end. It's honestly just an illusion that down the road is gonna fall and it's gonna hurt you and it's gonna hurt the production and it's gonna hurt the path. So if in the beginning you make sure you're grounded and your goal is reachable and you're connecting your points in a very effective manner, I believe it will make it simpler on the production side. And number one, you have to believe on your product. You have to believe on your movie, and you have to love it so much that you have to convince them that you're the right person to be able to receive those funds and go further and do that film. After that, keep on loving it and keep on loving it, because it gets very hard. Like throughout the film, you will have so many challenges, so many moments that you're gonna wish to just by magic solve things, and that doesn't happen. And that resilience is pushed through the fuel of love that you at the beginning of your film put into that persistence, that passion, that love for the craft and for your story is literally what keeps you going. And if you hold on to that, everything else aligns. Honestly, you just need to keep going and be able to dodge whatever you have to dodge and focus on what you have to do in order to be able to accomplish it. We were very lucky with the fact of everyone knew what they had to do. There was an inherent communication between everyone. And I think that is what productions that are smaller should focus on being able to build a team. Because if the team is happy, if the team understands each other, if it's actually a team, then you have 50% of the job done, because you don't have to micromanage every single element.
I will always say it. Movies are made by people, not by equipment. Somebody with an amazing team and maybe with a DSLR will achieve a way better movie than somebody with, I don't know what, RE, large formats, new, whatever you want to try, and dollies and how you call them, cranes and so on, will never bring that. It's beautiful. You will make visually something astonishing, but in the end, movies are about performance.
This is a great opportunity to talk about resources. Do you remember how many, like what your general crew, not including cast, your general crew was? Like how many, grip and electrics, how many art department, like that sort of thing?
I mean, we had probably let's say grip and electric, I would say between 15 to 20. Yeah, 15 to 20, depends on the day. Then our department, same, like we had sometimes 5, sometimes whenever they had to build, maybe we would not even be there while we were shooting something, they would prepare another location. Probably a total of 8. Overall, we've been probably 100, the set crew, a little bit less than a little bit less than 100. Again, it was very nice made, and again, we received understanding and support from a lot of people. So whenever, for instance, we were shooting in an apartment, the art department was setting the location for the next day. And as Anna said, this idea of being able to light up 360 will allow us that at each scene, knowing already what's the scheme, you just have to make adjustments. So that G&E crew could be split in 2. So, I mean, you have it full, you pre-light, and then half of it, they will go to the next location where you'll shoot next day, and you'll make sure the next day, whenever you get on set, you don't lose time with lighting, and you just jump into it.
That's a pretty good amount of crew. That's that really solid crew size. How many days were you all shooting in principal production?
We had 25 days, and we did, 2 or 3 days of additional shooting, right?
3
days of additional shooting. So what was your general lighting package like? Talking about not having too much stuff was what you guys were just talking. Use, to avoid your budget to make sure you have what you need. If you're setting up 2 locations, how were you approaching that for what your package was going to be?
From the beginning, we knew that we needed to have that workflow. So we, as the first AD had the scheduling laid out, we would plan for the camera equipment and for the lighting equipment to be ready for that. So, but still keeping in mind that we could not afford many extras or many standing by units, because no, it is not the case. So we honestly, it was honestly very simple. It was a very beautiful workflow. The gaffer and the key grip were honestly amazing.
Yeah, we had an amazing crew. Like, wow, what a talent was.
Shooting in New York too is a very difficult thing. You guys had shot, sequences on the subway, you had sequences on the street. Were you ever closing those down and permitting those, or were you stealing them and trying to time it?
No, we did both. For instance, everything that you see with police cars and like this, it was closed street, not permanent, intermediate, like 30 minutes. And then whenever we'll reset, they will allow, cars to pass. So yeah, again, huge support from the NYPD, from the film, how is it called? Film
office, yeah. Right.
Film office, yeah. Basically, everything was permitted because in New York, compared with LA, it's easier. If I put a camera in LA, it doesn't matter if we are 3 people around the camera. You need somebody from the Film LA office. Sometimes they want a police officer and fire department, and all these ones are permitted different. While in New York, you go, I don't know how much or if it increased, but it was $300 overall.
For the whole production, right. Whereas LA is like $700 per location if you're in the main zone.
And of course, to those $300, you add, whenever you close the street, whenever you need extra units. But no, I'm telling you, like, we were so blessed from like crew and cast to all the locations, from the people, from all the apartments that we shot, like the police station, for instance. It's not a police station, it's a church. So the art department, they did like a fabulous job transforming that church office in a police department. So what I would say, take exactly what you need. As we said, be as much as prepared as possible, be able and willing to adapt, but put more money into, or more time and attention into, what you want to get from your actors and what you can work with the crew.
So what is happening now that the film is made, all post-edited, all done? How does it find its home? Like, as far as your distribution, what do you guys? What is your pathway?
First of all, huge shout out to our post house from Germany, from Berlin, the Post Republic. Like, they were extremely, helpful. They worked with us for whatever needs we had. As for distribution, we basically represented the movie. We looked for the distributor or sales agents. We had some inquiries, but in the end, we liked Blue Fox as well. We have an acquaintance, a filmmaker that had a movie with them, and she told us that she was very happy with the experience. We agreed, and some adjustments here and there. We made a plan that changed because everything happened in February around Berlin Film Festival, and then right after the pandemic came. So they made the best out of it with what cinemas we have open, and then some virtual. So
you're going virtual cinema, and then is it following up domestically, internationally on like TVOD platforms?
We'll start traditional and virtual on August 28th, and then after that goes VOD. Same in Germany, goes theatrically, and then VOD, and then later in December it will go on Stars.
That's great. Well, congratulations on the success so far, and I can't wait to tell people to go purchase and watch it on Amazon or in virtual cinema. It'd be even better, right?
So there are states where traditional cinemas are open, and they made sure that the movie goes there.
But nothing like seeing the film on the big screen, speakers, just focusing, not being able to stop it, to check your phone, like complete immersion on the story is what really allows you to feel the story, to connect with the story. So if you have it next to the theater next to you, go and watch it. It's going to be better.
Yeah. So where can people follow your guys' work to see what you have coming up next?
In my case, it's Instagram, Vlad Feuer, VLADFEIER.
Same, I think, Instagram and also IMDb, Ana Paula Rivera.
Okay, great conversation with the director and DP of Still Here. What are our takeaways?
Well, I can tell you one thing that stands out to me right away was a 25-day schedule and a really decent sized crew. So that already sounds like that's why they were able to do so many locations, I think, because they planned ahead and they were frog hopping, pre-light here, half the crew goes the next place, starts pre-light, you catch up. I mean, you can do a lot more with that.
I love that. And speaking of lighting, 360 lighting, obviously not something that will work for every film if you're going for a very specific style and look, but it worked pretty well for them and it enabled them to have the freedom to move around the room. Vlad spoke so much about improv and having improv being a big part of the performance from the actors for this. And I think 360 lighting, meaning lighting the room, you're able to flip from one side with the camera to the other side without having to change all the lights, right?
Yeah, and what Vlad said too, that you make movies with people, not gear. I really, I like that. I appreciate that so much.
Oh, you're gonna hear me quote that one.
I'm glad. I really like that one. So I'll give you a good reminder to hear whenever I'm getting into my gearhead mode. I thought it was interesting the way they shot like everything on Steadicam and then kind of put it on a tripod with the arms so you don't have to rebalance as much. So I thought that was kind of an interesting approach. I don't know that's a tactic that I would be trying to use personally, just because I don't know. I don't know. Like I think that I'd kind of isolate a Steadicam shot as one thing, but if you have that in your base package, I mean, it's going to be hard to resist having or using.
Well, it all comes down to what's going to work for you and your film, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What camera should I use? The camera that's right for your film. First off, the one that you can afford. Mm-hmm. And second, the one that's going to work for you and that's going to be able to get into the into the locations and move fast enough for you. All of that stuff is going to be so specific to whatever you're trying to do. And like we heard the DP speak about in this film, in this conversation, that all comes down to you having that passion for your film, mm-hmm. and no one's going to fight for it and figure it out like you are. And you have to be 100% passionate about this film because that's what's going to carry you through to the finish line.
Yeah, Ana Paula, the director of photography, she also said something that I love to hear a cinematographer say is like, don't bring too much stuff. Just you don't want to get a bunch of lights and things and then not use them. That's fantastic. That makes me breathe easier. The producing side of me that's like, okay, how are we going to raise all this money?
Exactly. Well, it's like I always say, man. Films are made with people, not equipment.
I've heard you say that so often, and it's always a great reminder.
Filmmaking is a collaborative experience, and so is this podcast. So be sure to follow us on Instagram for all upcoming episode announcements at framework_productions. There, you can also leave your questions and comments for our guests and for any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. Subscribe to Independent Filmmakers Guide wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a rating and let us know how you like the show with a review. It really is helpful. And if you'd like to read the credits for an episode, call us at 347-871-1559 and leave us your email.
Hi, I'm Brendan Sokler, a comedy filmmaker from New York by way of Virginia, and I'm reading the credits. IFG is created by Framework Productions and directed by James Allerdyce. It's produced by Matt Mundy, edited by Audrey Rae McHale, and hosted by Stephen Pierce. The music is by Glassboy. Find his music on freemusicarchive.org. See and listen to all the episodes plus bonus content at independentfilmmakersguide.com. Thanks for listening.